Well, in this one, we are going to try to understand the concept of neural network in the depth. So, well, long time ago, before computers were super smart, people used something called logistic regression, and it's like something that we can try to make predictions. It is like some special tool to guess if it is going to rain tomorrow. So neural network is like a really cool computer version of that tool. It's made up of lots and lots of tiny brain cells that work together to help computer make guesses. So here's how it is work. So the computer looks for some data like pictures, words, and tries to figure out what's special about them, and then it uses a special formula like a secret recipe to make a special guess. So the normal neuron from the first video which we learned, it was it used to look something like this, and it's kind of like using a bunch of calculators, right? Uh, so combination of lot of these kind of neurons is what we call as a neural network. So imagine this thing like this, and then uh, like this, and what we call this one is a layer. So we are going to introduce new notations, the square bracket thing, and this tells us the quantities which are associated to this layer. Alright, so and this will be in square bracket second thing, and finally we are going to get y. So this thing will be quantities associated to layer 2. So it's kind of like a bunch of tiny calculators, one after another, to help computer get better and make better guesses. So how does it how does it do that? So well, it uses something called layers. Think of layers like different boxes. Each box take some of the information from a previous box. So imagine them as boxes. Each box is going to take information from the previous box and add its special sauce. So imagine this is the only information from previous box. It is here, and it adds its special sauce with that, and we're going to get something better with this thing. So this is like something better thing which we got from the uh, combination of those two things. So this is what we call a better guess. So then there is super important part. So where when the computer is done guessing, it wants to know if it was right or not. So it goes back to beginning and ask itself questions like, did I get this one right? Like that's what we call back propagation. And how can I do better next time? So it's kind of like a big game of guess what between computer and data. Does that make sense? So you just learn about how neural network is stacking lots of little sigma units together, right? So remember, so when I talk about sigma things, I'm talking about something which is let's get mathematically. So this is the normal equation, and remember this thing is going to be different than this thing, alright, like notations. So whenever I use this thing in previous videos, it is not going to mean this thing in this, it is not going to be equal to this thing, alright, so keep that in mind. So let's continue with the equation. This is 1, not I. So this is our sigmoid function. I hope you guys remember the whole derivation of these things from the previous videos. And when we add these things to these, then we're going to get let's write it in front of this thing, z true, this is equal to, right, w true a1 plus b true, that's the whole thing. That will mean a2 equals sigmoid of z2. That will look like this. It will go ahead and do a loss function, give us a loss function where we got this thing. So think of bunch of calculators. We were talking about sigmoid units, right? So remember how we had two steps calculations, one to compute z, another to compute a. Well, in this video you learned that neural networks does that same thing. So instead of doing it twice, it does multiple times. So think of it like I'll just make it easier to understand the whole thing. I'll just get the whole thing on the screen. So I hope it is visible and you guys can make sense out of it. So think of it like a bunch of calculators that do same math problem over and over again. Each calculator or layer takes some information from the previous one and adds its own special calculation to get answer. So first layer computes z. It's just like logistic regression. Then it goes through the other layer which will compute a sigmoid of z, and then it does that process again and with another layer which computes another z, and so on. The final output of neural network is called y hat, and which is the same as final answer we got from logistic regression. But instead of just doing two steps to get there, a neural network does many steps, many layers to get even a better guess. And just like logistic regression, when we are done, we need to go back and ask ourselves questions like, did I get it right, and how can I do the better job next time? So final layer of neural networks does the backward calculation to figure the same thing out. So to sum it up, a neural network is like a bunch of calculators that do the same math problem over and over again, but with many more layers than just two. So I hope that is clear in the concepts, and see you guys in the next one.